Hello, I'm Steve Olson, a technical specialist with Autodesk. In this video, I'd like to show you how you can go from an Inventor model to Workshop XR in 3 easy steps. Workshop XR is considered a architecture product and often ignored by some design and manufacturing folks. But if you have a project that you need to present to stakeholders and you think that a VR experience would be much better suited to sell your vision to your customer, then it is a very easy process to go from an Inventor model into Workshop XR. We actually have 2 paths. I'm going to highlight Inventor to Navis to Workshop XR in this one here. So I have an Inventor model. All I've done is I've taken my original assembly, brought it into a new assembly. I put some ground in there purely because it makes it easier to teleport around the design if I have a solid surface to essentially rest on or highlight as a surface to teleport to. So I have that, and all I really need to do now is switch over to Navisworks. And I'll start a new Navisworks file. So I'll go up here to Navisworks. I'll say new. I already had one started, but we're just going to start that process again. I'll go up here to append. And I'll just pick out that assembly. So let me navigate to where I have that saved on my C drive. And it's looking for NWD files. Let me switch this back to all files. And I call that one Prep Skid VR, knowing that's the one I have intentionally decided to or included that ground on for VR. So I'll say open to this. And I just have to let Navisworks pull that file in. The reason I'm going to use Navisworks is Workshop XR will read an RVT, which is a Revit file, an NWD, which is an export from Navisworks, or an IFC file. So Navisworks will create my NWD file for me. If I want to do anything else here, add any additional elements, or aggregate other 3D models, that's completely possible. But I'm just going to bring it in here. As soon as it's done, I will then export it to an NWD. The other thing that I'll share while this is churning is that the NWD needs to live in Autodesk docs to then be brought into Workshop XR. So that will be essentially our secondary step, is to save an NWD into Autodesk docs once this is done calculating. There's my design. You can see some of the materials that I brought over with it into Navisworks. So I'm going to go up here to my file menu. I'm going to say export. Actually, I'm sorry, it's going to be a save as. And because I have the desktop connector installed on my system, I can go right to Autodesk Docs. I can go into where I want to save this. I have a Workshop XR folder, and I'll call this Prep Skid NWD. And I'll put a YT for YouTube after it. I'll make sure this is a NWD file. I'll save. And again, I have the desktop connector, so I'm going to give it a few moments to make sure this is then synchronized out to the cloud, and then we'll go into Workshop XR to then turn this into a workshop. So here I've logged into my Autodesk Docs account purely to just verify that the file has been uploaded, synchronized through the desktop connector. I can click on here just to make sure everything looks right before I turn it into a workshop. That's looking correct. So let me switch over to Workshop XR. So here in Workshop XR, I'm going to go to Create Workshop. It's going to ask me to give it a name. I'll give it the same name as I gave the NWD file. And it's going to ask me for a file to include or make part of this workshop. So there's that preps kit NWD YT. I'll say create. There, now it's created. So the only other thing I need to do now is to jump into there and take a look, make sure everything looks right. So I've logged into Workshop XR on my Quest 3 headset. I'm going to pick on the workshop that I just created. You'll see in Workshop XR, it loads you into a room where the model is on a table where you're able to look at that file. You can pan, you can zoom, you can orbit. But my favorite thing to do is to go immersive, where I can teleport into the model and walk around. You can walk around just by using some of the controls. You can look around, but then you also can use the one controller to highlight a spot to teleport to. And this is why the ground becomes important, because it needs a solid surface for us to teleport upon. And if I didn't have a ground surface in there, it would have been much more difficult to do the teleporting that I'm showing here. So there you have it. Those are the 3 easy steps to go from Inventor into Workshop XR. So hopefully you found this information valuable, and I hope to see you next time.